This video is all about those solutions and things that you can put in place to make flying become that doable and enjoyable experience you want it to be.
Look at me go. Look at me, baby, I'm gone.
This is like before we did anything else, I was like, I'm making sure I have these on the flight back. The backpack that I recommend is a brand my wife found out about. The size that they recommend is the size that fits under the seat perfectly.
And because I had that food with me in my backpack, I didn't have to figure out how I was going to get dinner or breakfast in that situation.
In our case, we literally got both of the flights completely paid for.
Something I feel I recently learned about myself in regard to my hesitation around flying, which I feel like I misplaced a definition of fear around flying, and I found out it wasn't that at all. It had so much more to do with my hesitation of not being able to be in control of the annoying circumstances that you can find yourself in when you're flying and feeling like you have no control over it and that you're kind of trapped in any number of situations that can come up with flying. And what I feel like I learned is if I could come up with solutions to those different scenarios that could come up, then I could put myself back in control. And I learned that if I felt like I was back in control, it changed everything. And so this video is all about those solutions and things that you can put in place to make flying become that doable and enjoyable experience you want it to be.
Look at me go. Look at me, baby, I'm gone.
So I am by no means a world traveler, and I don't have a lot of experience traveling, but I have some experience in traveling. And what I am is a detailed person. I feel like I am at least the type of person that pays attention to things and how to solve them. And so in this video, I just wanted to share some of the things I've noticed that have made a huge difference for me in traveling. And really, in some cases, I mean, I experience sometimes some kind of fear and hesitation with traveling in general. And some of these things we're going to talk about have really helped me get over that and have been a solution for that. So in very random order, the first thing I'll say that has been huge has actually been the Chase Sapphire Preferred credit card. Chase has a bunch of different travel credit cards, and it's usually the brand that's recommended as like the good travel card to use points for getting free flights. And the reason I am bringing this up first is because we just ran across a situation, me and my wife, where we had to travel immediately. And because of the amount of points that I had racked up on this card, just basically using it for business expenses and everyday expenses, you know, all your normal expenses that you have as a service business owner, which is what this channel is all about, is being a service business owner. Oh my gosh, you rack up so many expenses throughout offering your service that you could totally benefit from by having a card like this. There's all kinds of cards, so it doesn't have to be this one. But in our case, we literally got both of the flights completely paid for with these cards. The first one was a $900 value that was completely free. That was my wife's. And then mine was around a $700 or $800 value that was also completely free. Now, the card charges $100 a year. You have to pay for the privilege, basically, of having this card. But in my wife's flight, it immediately already paid for itself. I mean, I don't think I've even had this card 9 years. So, you know, $900 flight, 9 years of having the card. That paid for it right there. And then we've used this more than just on these trips and have benefited from the points. So if you're going to be traveling, or even if it's a surprise situation where it's like, I don't travel all the time, but I think I may travel, it is so beneficial to be putting these expenses in your daily life on these cards that rack up these points. So the first tip is that Chase Sapphire Preferred card. And I'll leave a link to that in the description if you want to sign up for it. The next thing that was a major game changer for me were construction grade earphones that you can wear on the flight. These are true noise canceling headphones. I know they have those other noise canceling headphones out there, and honestly, I haven't really tried them much, but these construction grade things are way cheaper. I think you could probably get some for like, I don't know, maybe 15 to 25 bucks. Way cheaper, and they're actually meant for canceling out construction sounds. I'll put a link to those in the description as well. Those were amazing, and here's why. I was having my first experience in first class. So I was like super excited, and it just happened to be that we got sat, or there was a screaming baby behind us. It was unbearable. It was just unbelievable. The parents really didn't know how to handle it. They didn't seem to know what to do about it. And it was these piercing screams happening behind us. And it got so bad that I got to the point that I just literally started doing this. I mean, that looks really rude and it looks like you're being dramatic in the moment, but it just got to that point where I was just like, I just can't take this. Like, this is killing me, you know? And the other thing is, I sometimes can get a little nervous about flying in general. So having that added to it was just a nightmare. It was just a nightmare. And the first thing I did when we got to the hotel on that particular flight, because I offer a service business where I work in handyman related stuff, I knew these headphones existed. The first thing I did when we got back to the hotel was I used Uber or DoorDash or one of those things like that. And I bought them online, and somehow I got it figured out to where the person delivered these headphones to me at our hotel. This is like before we did anything else. I was like, I'm making sure I have these on the flight back and for any flight I have ever again in my life. So I'll put a link to those in the description. But part of having those headphones with me also is like a mental and emotional security thing as well. Because bring your worst, right? You're on the plane like, give me your worst, because I've got these. Whatever screaming child or situation or whatever's going to be there, I'm just going to put these on and be perfectly fine.
Also, a couple other things I want to point out about these headphones is these are like $11. At least that's what they were at the time of the Amazon link that I'm going to put down below. So these do not have speakers in them. They are not a Bluetooth headphone. These are just noise canceling headphones. And so the reason I use these is because they were something I just already happened to have. I use these when I use my circular saw or the grinder that's on metal, or if I'm just in loud situations. So that is important to understand that the particular ones I'm talking about that I use don't have speakers in them. And that's why I use those Bluetooth earbuds that, again, maybe cost you $15 or $20. And then I put these over that, and I just use these for the noise canceling feature. One of the things I like about that is these are specifically designed for what I think is a much higher level of noise cancellation quality than I think your typical noise canceling headphones that have the Bluetooth speakers in them would be. On top of that, I think you could easily spend $100 on a pair, and with these being only $11, if they get lost, if they get stolen, it's really no big deal, right? So I like that because I just, like I said, keep them on the outside of my backpack. I don't really care much about them, because they're only $11. And I like that I don't have to worry about having this expensive piece of gear that maybe someone could steal, or if it gets broken, then it would be a big deal. With these, it's not. The other thing that you may not be used to is the size. Like, you may be thinking, oh, they seem really big if I'm going to wear these. But for people that have had noise canceling headphones, they know that it's just a bigger headphone. So you're not going to look strange or out of the ordinary for having headphones that are a little bit thicker like this. Whether it's the Apple noise canceling headphones or any of the dozens of maybe even hundreds of noise canceling headphones, they're all bigger. So other people on the plane who have a noise canceling headphone are going to look just like you, right? It's not like you're going to be out of place in wearing these. The other thing that applies to all of these tips I'm going to be talking about is when people are on a plane, they are so much more focused on themselves and their own comfort. They are not caring about people around them. It's just a fact of the situation, right? We're going to be completely focused on our own world and our own solution in that moment than we are going to be worried about others around us. So it's not really a time when people are caring about what's happening with other people, right? They're focused on their own comforts in that moment and whatever works for them to get them through the flight in the most comfortable way possible. So if that's a hesitation for you, I would strongly suggest to just get that out of your system when it comes to flying and just focus on what makes the flight more enjoyable for you.
The other thing, though, that was really cool about it, and this was something I learned as a side discovery, was, when you're on the plane, there's this very loud humming that you are hearing. The sounds of the plane operating its motors and everything. It's just, you're in this wind tunnel, and it's really loud, and it's very distracting. And even if you put earbuds in, regular earbuds, you can still hear it, and it's still kind of hard to hear a movie you're watching or something that you're doing. So if you have these construction-grade headphones, you put your earbuds in, and then you put those over it, it's a game changer. It's so amazing, and it takes that sound away. It just puts you in a completely different reality, truly. It changes your reality in that moment. So that's another benefit to those as well. And I just got a climbing clip, and I just put that clip on one of the handles of my backpack that I travel with, and I just clipped them to that, and they just hang off the backpack, and they're always there. So it's not something where I have to figure out where am I going to store them or how am I going to bring them with me.
So if you follow this channel, it's all about offering a service business that focuses on the smallest jobs that make the most money. And aside from the money and the free time, one of the other benefits is being able to do what you want, when you want. So another tip that's worth including as well is that my small-scale service business put me in a position to where once we found out we needed to make this trip, I didn't have to ask anybody permission if I could go.
And I'm going to need a special helper to do that. Now I would like to choose the most quietest, motionlessness student to be today's special helper.
Before I had my own small service business, that was something that was starting to feel silly to me. That as a grown adult, if there was anything I needed or wanted to do, I needed to ask another grown adult permission if I was allowed to do it. So instead of that being my situation, I was able to just say, oh, we need to go on a trip, and we went on a trip. And if on top of the money and free time, you're also interested in stepping into that same level of freedom as well, I'll put a link below to a 2-part series I created that makes it really simple to just dip your toe into Cash Cow Artist Bootcamp in a very chill and laid back way. So if you want learning how to start your own service to be just as relaxing as offering your own service, I'll put a link to that below.
Now, that takes us to the next thing. The backpack that I recommend is a brand my wife found out about, and then I learned about it from her. And it's called Nordas. I don't really know how to say it, but I'll put a link to it in the description. And the backpack is the recommended size that the airlines ask you to have. And I never thought about why that's important, but the reason it's important, at least from what my experience was, the most important thing is the size that they recommend is the size that fits under the seat perfectly. And so this company, Nordas, has created that bag in that perfect size. And I realized how important this was because just on the flight here, the person I was sitting next to, I happened to benefit to be in first class in that flight. And the space wasn't big enough for her backpack, even in first class. Look at this boat. This is really cool. You can imagine just being out on the ocean with that thing, having a grand old time. So anyway, she said, oh, hey, could you put my backpack in the overhead? It won't fit under here. Well, it was good that there happened to be enough space, but if there isn't, okay, you're just going to have a really uncomfortable plane ride with this backpack that won't. And then the flight attendants may have a problem with it and tell you have to do something with it and blah, 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 right? So it's just ideal to have a backpack that's the perfect size. Well, this company, Nordas, makes that backpack the perfect size to fit under there. It's kind of like just a basic rectangle size. And there's a ton of pockets, and it seems to have pockets for days, right? So you can fit a ton of stuff in there. And that leads to the next tip, which is I like to bring my own food with me. What you're going to find out through me talking about this is ultimately what I have learned I want to be when I'm flying is I want to be my own completely, fully self-contained solution. I need nothing. Everything I could possibly need for the whole day of that travel, I literally have on me. Which also helps with kind of the mental part too of just knowing that I'm good. I don't have to worry about what possibly is going to happen because I've got every solution on my person. And so I like to buy these insulated lunch boxes. It's literally the size of like your old school lunch pail, but it's made out of this insulated fabric type material. And then I just put food in there. In my case, I put broccoli that's been cooked and chicken. I have an orange. I'll have a yogurt. All of these things I put in a Ziploc bag. I also had some like healthy oatmeal cookies that I was able to fit in there. That way I've got healthy food that I know I'm not going to react weird to. Oh my gosh, dude, the last thing you want to be doing is reacting to food you're not familiar with on a flight. So if you get to know your body and what works for you, you can pack that. And I put 2 of them because it can be a long day. So I get 2 of these things that will fit in this bag that I've told you about, the Nordak bag. And I'll have links to all this stuff in the description. But because it's that fabric insulated material, it's kind of malleable and flexible, and it can be stuffed down in there and fit in there. And so I'll have those 2 bags of food with me. So regardless of what the flight schedule is, how things turn out, I don't have to like, oh my gosh, on this next stop, I have to go get something to eat and hopefully there'll be enough time. I don't have to worry. I can eat on the plane. I can just get to my next flight and I already have food on me. So I can just eat it when I get on the plane, that's what I do. So that gets us started with some of these tips that have been a major game changer for me. And I don't know how many videos this is going to end up being, but just so this video doesn't get too long, I'm going to go ahead and stop it here. Maybe this will be a 2-part series, 3-part series, but just so this isn't too crazy long, I'm going to stop this video here and then I'll continue talking about more of the tips that I have in the next video.
So that wraps up today's video, and if you'd like to see the other 2 videos in this series, I'll put a link below to Cash Cow Artist Plus, which is where I share a whole other level of behind-the-scenes content. For example, I ended up running into a situation where one of the flights was canceled, and there was this mad dash to get a hotel voucher and get to the hotel before all the shuttles were gone. And because I had that food with me in my backpack, I didn't have to figure out how I was going to get dinner or breakfast in that situation. I also talk about how to handle the anxiety of taking off and landing, and how to solve that feeling of being trapped during the flight. Plus a whole lot more. Cash Cow Artist Plus is also where you can watch and read the artistic things I've done, like independent films I've made, comic books I've made, as well as my more exclusive videos, such as some of the higher end properties I've worked at. And like I mentioned earlier, if you're interested in living this same type of lifestyle, I'll also put a link below to a 2-part series I created that shows how to offer a high income service business in a very chill and laid back way. Otherwise, thanks for hanging out with me today. And if you'd like to see how I earned $150 just to hang one picture in a super charming condo location that made me feel like I was on the set of a 1990s sitcom in New York, you can click right here to watch that video next.
Don't deny it, we soaring so high, the flyest. Ain't no private, we making it loud like riot. Do your thing, do your thing.